friend. How you do? Good morning,
Good
Bossman.
morning, good morning, good
Ooh,
morning.
like you had some mangoes this morning, boy.
I wish.
What you drink for tea? You got a mint or some cocoa or something? Exercise or something? What's the secret, man?
Coffee,
Oh, shucks.
coffee, and then the adrenaline from looking at the video.
Oh boy, oh boy. So when did you say it? Last night or this morning?
Sorry, say again.
When did you say it? Last night or this morning?
Actually, I saw. I think I was browsing through IG sometime yesterday,
Uh huh.
and I can't remember if it was on Tamara's account or if it was the it that account, which is the club that she represents here at home.
Right.
But I was just browsing, saw her, listened to it, and actually got to. I don't even know if it was the whole video, but I know that it got to where it said, once you finish secondary school, that's it. And immediately I knew, I said, okay, I know where this is going. And I just went on. So I saw it yesterday. This morning, I woke up and I don't know who sent me on the people Facebook, right? But went on to Facebook and saw another a contact of mine talking about this video. And I think he made reference to Tamara, or the sport of track and field, one or the other, I can't remember. So I commented and asked, all right, what video are you talking about? So then he shared the link to me via private message, and I realized that it was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was then I realized that then I went on to the Vincent Issues Now page because that was the link that he shared, and I saw that
Mm-hmm.
I saw the caption they had. That is what riled me up, right? That
Okay.
is what got
Before
me
you go
irate.
forward,
Was the
right?
caption that
Before you
they
go,
had, and then there were a couple other folks who also shared the video and were saying the same thing, commenting and saying that either one, she was wrong for saying it, or maybe she was mistaken. But then the comments that were coming under it were, basically putting Tamara, raking her over the coals for something that she is absolutely correct about.
how is she correct? But before you go forward, right? I realize that there's a lag between
Uh-huh.
us. There's a slight lag between us. Listeners, if you're just joining, we have Khalil Kato
Okay.
joining us this morning. Speaking about that video that was shared. Well, it went up on social media yesterday, but a clip from it, a 9-second clip, circulated social media, and a lot of people got upset. And then there were some people who were defending her. So that's what we're discussing this morning. All right, continue.
Right. So she is correct in the sense that I think first off, a lot of people do not know where she's coming from in what she said. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, they just use 9 seconds of the clip. And if you listen to that just in the merit of itself, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds as though she is saying that we have no colleges or universities here and we have no access to colleges or universities here. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But because I know where she's coming from, what she said, and for the folks who will, I will say it word for word. She said that she's from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where there are no colleges or universities, and when you finish high school, that's it. It's one straight
Mm-hmm.
statement. She was
Yeah.
referring to being involved in competitive track and field on a high level, and she's not wrong because the inter-school athletics championship here is the premier athletics championships in the country. Even the national championships, which I show a lot of people out, they don't even know that we have, isn't as big or gets as much attention as the inter-school championship, right? So once you finish secondary school, the level of competition that you could be involved in drops significantly because you have people, and I mean, Team Athletics, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is out there still carrying on the sport. And there are people who are serious in this sport that stay involved even if they're still at home and out of secondary school. But to continue and for somebody like Tamara, who is easily, in secondary school was one of the elite athletes. She wasn't somebody who just turned up because the sports day and ran. She was an elite athlete in secondary school. For somebody
Mm-hmm.
to continue on the level that she was at, she would have had to gain an athletic scholarship and go on to an American university. So that's the concept she was coming from. She was saying that she meant in terms of continuing in athletics on a high level, you would have to go overseas, right? A lot of people, like I say, because they don't really follow sports and plain talk, they don't really care about sports. They didn't get that. All they heard was her say that, oh, we don't have college or university, and oh, look, we have community college, and oh, you could get into UE. But it's ignorance. They're talking out of pure ignorance because they don't know where she was coming from. And if people in this country took sports seriously in the way that they should, they would have understood that, right?
But
But what got me bothered is this is not somebody who is, as I say, somebody who just turned up for sports day. We're talking about a national athlete here. We're talking about somebody who went to the Carifta Games in 2017, I believe, and came home with a gold medal for the 4x4, who was on a record-breaking 4x4 team. It's not just some nappy ching, somebody who just say, oh, I see people running and I want to run. Right? There are different levels of athlete and on an elite level as it relates to here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. When these positive things happen, when just this weekend, Shafika Maloney was judged co-SEC Runner of the Week, which is a great award. Handel Roban has been making great strides in his career so far. But when these things are posted, when these things are made public, you don't see half of these people running and coming with a Vinci flag waving, yeah, go Vinci, yeah, we proud, we proud. But as soon as you get some kind of negative, and it wasn't even negative, it's just out of ignorance, they just had a misconception of what was said. Now they're ready to come with the pitchforks. I'm ready to rake Tamara, pour Tamara over the coals for something that she was absolutely not wrong about. People out there just didn't understand what she was talking about.
but do you give Vincent Chun's wrong for misinterpreting what was said or taking it out of context?
In in two cases, I won't say I give them wrong, but I would understand why. First of all, is because, as I say, they don't really follow sports. They don't take sports as seriously as sports should be taken. Sports is one of the aspects of this life of Vincentian life that can boost this country in leaps and bounds, but nobody really wants to put the effort into it. When I say nobody, I mean widespread, holistically, on the entire nation. Yeah, sports is just running our kicking ball or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
kickball. Yeah.
The way that right. Secondly, the way that the video was, all right. And what I find funny is that it's posted on a page called Vinci Issues now, which when it comes to sports, any there's hardly any information about Vinci Sports. I was actually going through the page this morning.
Hmm.
There was a post on Novak Djokovic being allowed to play in the Australian Open. How is that a Vinci issue? I see posts about stuff in Barbados, in Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad. I thought it was a Vinci issues page, right? But then you don't have anything positive about Vinci Sports, right? But then this one little thing, 9 seconds that you take and put out there, that is going to give a completely different meaning from what the original video was about. You're going to take that and call it a Vinci issue. It's a joke, right? It's a joke. It was simply being malicious. Somebody used something just to clickbait, just try to get people riled up and get people to comment and post and talk about their page, which is exactly what we're doing here now, right? But they
Hmm.
were completely and totally wrong. Whether it was done intentionally or whether it was done just out of ignorance, I really put the two of them in the same hand, two sides of the same coin, as far as I'm concerned. If you want to be talking about something, find out about it, learn about it, right, and speak on it from a position of knowledge and not just one little minuscule bit of information.
Hmm. Let me ask you, do you know what question she was asked? Because it seems like a two-part question, right? Let me just come in here with a comment. It's sort of
Sure.
unfortunate that the day after that video surfaced, right? That there has to be a discussion on an explanation as to what was shared and the meaning behind it. Sort of unfortunate that it did not come across clearly to people. And it seemed to me like the video kind of cut from, it probably would have been better if the question was shared at the beginning of that video so people could understand exactly what she's talking about.
Mhm. Yeah, I am going to work up because because let's take it back. Tamara has just is now into her first year at the Oklahoma State University. She was at a school in Texas before, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, for I think a year, maybe two. So she just transferred to another university. So what I am gathering is that this was just a sort of biographical video that she was doing, because the original post came from, I saw the name on it, and it was from a coach.
Her
So
coach.
I'm thinking that, yes, I'm thinking that the coach recorded this and put it out there, just to highlight. It could be, I don't know, it could be an aspect of where they were just highlighting the people on their team. So Tamara was just simply talking about herself and where she was from.
Hmm. What some people were talking about as well, reference to college and university and high school, and in the context of the United States of America, the difference between what
Mhm.
they would call high school versus what we would call high school. I saw some people trying to justify. Would that make a difference?
Um, Again, if you don't know, you don't know, right? Um, in the US, when they refer to high school, they are talking about secondary schools, right? So the secondary school. Of course, here in St. Vincent, when we talk about high school, the first thing that pops in is the girls' high school, right? Because we call it secondary school here. So it's just a matter of the lingo, it's a matter of the jargon. Of course, she was doing a video she's in an American college, so she was using the American jargon. So when she referred to high school, she didn't necessarily mean the girls' high school. She was talking about secondary schools in St. Vincent generally. Because remember, she wasn't necessarily speaking to a Vincentian audience. She was doing this for an American university, and quite likely a larger American audience, because she's wanted to get people who would be looking at that video to understand where she is, where she's from, what her background is. So that's where that comes from. As it relates to colleges and universities, there are different levels. They are 2 year and there are 4 year colleges. We have a 2 year college here, which is the community college, which
Hmm.
Tamara attended. We have access to a 4 year, well, everybody has access to a 4 year institution um, via the internet, because there isn't really an at home institution, except for, excuse me, maybe some of the medical schools. I can't speak for exactly how the medical schools here work, but
Yeah, they do pass
general
it and
studies
they go to
colleges,
the other pass. Hmm.
right? So general colleges, we have access to UWI, which has a campus, well, what they call an open campus. It doesn't offer the full services of what UWI offers.
Hmm.
They only have campuses, we all know, Trinidad, Barbados, and Jamaica, right? So and again, she is talking about being able to further her athletic career. You can't do that here. You can't do that here.
That's unfortunate, isn't it? That in order to take athletics seriously and sports seriously, you have to migrate.
Yeah, because we are, as we are described as a developing nation. So we are developing in every single facet of life that we live here. We are still developing in it. Um, so in education, in sports, in healthcare, in housing, everything, we are still developing. We're not there yet. Wherever the there is, we're not there yet. So we are developing. So we have to, you have to get through where you can. And the avenue in order to get through, if you are an athlete, and when I say athlete, I don't want, in this particular instance, I don't want to just narrow it down to track and field athlete. If you are a sports person, if you want to continue playing on a high competitive level, then overseas you have to leave these shores.
Hmm. Wow. I want to talk about you. You mentioned the seriousness of sports across the board. What changes do you think that we need right now?
Um, at the very grassroots level, I think that there needs to be a greater um, involvement and, let me say, investment. Let me use the word investment in primary school sports in primary schools. All right. Across the board, as I said before, people just view sports as a recreational type thing. All right. Um, Once you get to secondary schools in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they start to do physical education, but then this is an academic subject that you're doing just to write CXC at the end of 5 years. You may gain some sporting knowledge and development through that, but it's not coaching. Physical education in the classroom and coaching in different sporting disciplines are two completely different things. There are different sporting bodies that have taken strides in trying to establish grassroots programs, which is very basic, the very basic program as it relates to getting the children involved at an earlier level. But widespread in this country, the best place to do that is in schools, because schools are the places where you have the highest concentration of children at any one point, right? And it's easier to target schools because, as I said, they're in one place. When school breaks and people leave school and they go back to their homes, which are in, across the length and breadth of the country, sometimes it's hard for them to get to a place where a particular sport might be taking place, right? So you get all of them in schools. So schools, primary schools, our education system has to allow for sport development, not teaching sport to answer some questions in an exam after 5 years, which is what it is. All right. But even before that, this is a case of which one comes first, the chicken or the egg. Nationally, Vincentians have to understand that the benefits that we get from sport. Every year we jump up and we talk about how many athletes we might have going off to sports. To university, either through track and field, through football, basketball, tennis, lawn tennis. I'm not sure if I'm leaving out any other sports that would have if so, forgive me. But when we have inter-school sports, as I say, it gets a lot of attention. Like this particular, look at the academic year, this particular time right now, this second term is usually considered the athletics term. And you see a lot of folks started to post and talk about it. Especially your alma mater, Crystal. You see those ladies come out from the woodwork.
Yeah.
You wonder where they correct, right? So, they come out and they're talking about sports and they're vibrant about sports. But that is as it relates to their school, because they love their school. Once the school sports is done, and I've seen it over the years. So we talk in high school, and I don't want to sound as though I'm targeting high school. I'm just using it as, the girls' high school, because I'm just using it as the example, because they are the ones who set the example. From the time January hits and school opens for the second term, you start to see folks like Vincent Frederick and Mrs. Jean Johnny Finley and also on some others getting on, and they're starting to talk about the houses, the staff, the Grimble, the Muffet, the headmistress. Talk about the houses because they're into the sports. But once the girls' high school sports is finished, there's a drop off. You don't really see or hear much now, because the next big thing would be the inter-schools championship. But you don't see many people out there vociferous about their school being involved in the championship. It's about their house. And then once the inter-house sports is finished, it kind of dies down. And then once inter-school sports is finished, it dies down even more. It's funny that we will be so involved in watching English Premier League soccer, Spanish soccer, French football, international football. We have people who will sit down and are glued to their televisions when the Australian Open is on, when with the US Open or the different majors are on, and you see, and we talking about it on the internet and whatnot. When there's the Olympics or World Championship, talking about them things on Facebook, and the Usain Bolts and the Shelley and Fraser Prices and all these people. But they're at home. Nobody's going to leave home to go to the National Tennis Center to watch a tennis game. Nobody is going to, hardly anybody, unless there are people who are involved in the sport of football, is going to the Victoria Park, where there is the secondary school football final. All right. It's scanty. Same for inter-secondary school track and field.
How much of that is from
Say again, sorry?
All these events that you're talking about, how much of that is promoted on mainstream media?
No, well, I will agree that there is a fall off in some of these sports. Football, not the secondary school football, but nationally through the SVG Football Federation. I know that when the leagues are on, there is some promotion done. But this is the thing about promotion, right? Is that you could promote till you blue. If what you are promoting is not something I am interested in, I'm going to miss it. Right? I'm not really going to pay much attention to it. So, let's say, for example, all right, golf. Golf is a sport. Golf is a game. This is my personal thing. I don't see golf being a sport, right?
Don't
But
come
I'm
say,
not
don't
taking
come say
anything away
anything
from
that you
anybody who
you
plays the
have
sport of golf.
to apologize for, though.
No, well, this is why I'm saying this is my personal thing, and I ain't going to apologize for it. It's just the way I feel. Again, I'm saying I'm not taking anything away from anybody who plays the sport of golf, because I mean, how many millions does Tiger Woods have from playing golf, right? But so when I look at ESPN, for example, and Sports Center, when they're talking about the different sports, as soon as they start to talk about golf, I change the channel. Or if they talk about ice hockey, I change the channel, because me personally, I'm not interested in those sports. So you could promote till you're blue. If people are not interested in going in these things, if they don't have the like or the love for these things, they will miss it. They will hear it, but they won't listen. Right? They won't catch it. Now, even on social media, which a lot of promote. So you said mainstream media. Let's talk social media, where a lot of promotion of different things are done. How many of the people who were critical of Tamara and what she said follow the Team Athletics Facebook page, which keeps people updated on what's happening in athletics, not only here in St. Vincent, but Vincent and athletes overseas? How many people know where they can find the Team Athletics website? Same for the SVG Football Federation. Same for the Cricket Association. How many folks, so folks don't make the effort to go out and find these things. We're in a world where we want everything presented to us on a platter. Facebook. So we go onto Facebook, unless, something pops up in somebody's stream or thread, they're going to miss it, because they're not really driven to want to go and look for something. So a page like Vincent is used now, which used what Tamara said in a negative context. And people gravitate towards negativity. Folks are going to jump on that. And once that starts to get spread, it's going to be spread more and more and more, right? The more you do it, the more it will happen, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I'm just as you're talking, I'm scrolling through Team Athletics SVG, and I'm seeing posts about Yolanda Lewis, Darren Morgan, most recently Shafika Maloney. Big up to Shafika. Even through that academy, you have your own sports athletics. The lag boy, the lag. I was asking you if you have your own athletics academy.
I lost your audio. You can hear me, but I lost your audio.
Oh dear. I was making reference to that academy. Somebody's trying to call you, but tell them wait now. Wait, hold on. Hold on. The problem with going live sometimes. End the call. Jesus, what's trouble?
Yeah, I don't know if you can still hear me. I think somebody's trying to call me on the phone, and the phone doesn't like to cooperate with me at some points.
All right.
I'm trying to see if I can find it to end it, but it won't even show up.
Hey, y'all stop calling you. Okay, just nod when you end it. Nod when you're done. You done? Oh Lord Jesus. Big up to Christopher Richards. All right. If you want to check them out, you good? You good now? Tears. Tears. Let me read out some comments that are coming in the meantime until he rejoins us. 7:56. Well, look at the time. All right. Good morning to Kathy. And then we're gonna wrap up, right? Whenever he comes back. If He comes back, that is. Was she talking about track and field? Yes, she was. Yes, some intentions to damn. Oh Lord, Jesus. Let me go back. Let me go to another one. Tamara knows what she is saying, so INCY hate. Before people should know this, but people should know this. When you do not want to apply common sense or do any research before running down people, just reading the comments here. Exactly. You can not do nothing with sports if you want to further in it. Run, 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 run. You run with it, boy. No pun
Yeah, now what
intended.
happened is a call started to come into the phone, so it just got disconnected. So I had to try to find the call to end it. My phone doesn't like to cooperate with me at some time, so when it starts to do more than one thing at a time, it gets a little confused. It's not as smart as I like to think.
You need a phone with a track and field scholarship, man, so you could run into another
Last one.
a a bolt phone or a Tamara phone, yeah. Ooh, okay. So it's 26 minutes in. We're gonna wrap up in about 3 minutes or so. Your final thoughts, your final appeal. What is it you want to leave with Vincentians? What is it you want to say to Tamara and perhaps to all the other Vincentian athletes, sportsmen and sportswomen out there who are listening? Parents as well, you know?
Well, that could be a whole parliamentary address if I were to do all that.
Take
First
5 minutes.
off, to Tamara, I would like to think that she knows that there are people here who support her. She knows that the video that was the portion of the video that was used was taken totally out of context, and whatever negative attention that she would have garnered from it is coming from people who, as I say, are speaking out of ignorance and really don't understand where she was coming from. As I said, there is much I could say right now that is going to change the minds and mindset of people. This is something that is going to happen over time. I just think that some people just have a mind block, and it's hard to break through that mind block. The different aspects of sports are trying to do it, the sporting bodies, even folks at the Ministry of Sports to an extent. But once the overall, what do I say, public system, I want to say, and I'm not talking about public service and governmental system, just societally, we have to get away from the nitpicking and start to look at things on a wider view, and understand that as I say, no matter how well, I would say something, but I will change my mind. I won't bother because again, it might be taken out of context. Just understand that sports is an avenue. Sports is, let me put it this way, the number one avenue for development to really happen in this country. All right, but people lazy. That's the big problem. People lazy, and they don't want to get out there and take part. Let me say this, and this is kind of on a side note, and I'll just say this finally because I need to get going. I have people work to go and do. But I'll say this, that for those listeners out there, parents who have your children in primary schools, when they have their PE sessions or if they have heats or sports, please, for heaven's sake, stop sending them in jeans pants. Stop it. All right. When they have the little parties or whatever, you go to, you're ready to buy all the little pretty clothes and whatnot. If they are taking part in anything athletic or any sports thing, get them a track pants or a shorts. All right. Jeans are not made to be running. I've seen children in PE classes just over the last couple of at Kingston Prep, for example, because that's this closest primary school to, well, that and CW Prescott. But because we know that children are coming to school in jeans because of the dengue, trying to protect themselves from dengue, that is all well and fine. But if they are going out for anything physical, they can't be running in jeans. They can't. Get them a pair, even if you don't want not a pair of shorts, at least a track pants. You could find them. They're in town. You could find them. Get out and go look for a pair of track pants, and let your children take part in their PE classes or their sports in sport clothing, not jeans.
change pants and running, boy. Leave that for people like me who ain't skilled. So even if I ain't a track pants, I still ain't reaching nowhere. Sports was not my area of
But anyway, let me
expertise.
all right. But let me
Uh,
say thanks for having me and allowing me to to vent on this unfortunate issue. But again, as I say, when things are being done out of maliciousness, we have to try to stomp it out. We have to call nonsense when we see it, and learn to grow and develop past these things.
okay. All right. Thank you so much, Khalil. You know, we'll always link when it comes to sports and media.
Correct, correct. All right.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much again. All righty then. And thanks for joining the live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. All right. We're going to get to those comments